Hi, I'm Dan Handelman, and welcome back to part 2 of Flying Focus's 18th Busiversary. It's our annual retrospective of our weekly series here on Portland Community Media.
Since 1991, we've been activists using video as a tool for social change, voicing the voiceless. Our shows feature lectures, forums, protests, and other content regarding peace and social justice, providing you with information you can use. It's really not hard to make a TV program, and you can do it too.
So grab a pen and a piece of paper to write down our contact information, which you can see now on your screen and which will come up a few more times during the show.
If you like what you see, be sure to contact your cable company and the powers that be to keep cable access accessible.
So join us again as our producers introduce clips from the shows they produced between November 2008 and October 2009. Thanks for watching. Oh, hi, I'm Dan again, and I'm going to show a clip from the third program I produced this year, which covered an event in Salem about the 6th anniversary of the invasion of Iraq. It was a protest held at the state capitol. It was in conjunction with an effort to keep the Oregon National Guard from being deployed back to Iraq. And we had speakers that you're going to see a couple of, and a march with about 400 people, and Jim Lockhart taped some of this. And
yeah, this was a field videography, which is always a lot more challenging because you don't have any control over the audio and the video, and you just take it as you can, and you're running to try to keep up with the crowd and get good shots, and it's always a challenge.
Yeah. All right, and PC also helped tape some of this, and I edited it together and put it on the air in June.
Throughout the world, let peace prevail. Throughout the world, let peace prevail.
Let us also stop fighting these wars at home. Support your neighbor, support each other, support GI resistance, support your environment, support our future generations on this planet, but be wary of empire. Be wary of scapegoating, and do not support our government's intentional misallocation of our resources, human or material.
What the theory did not account for was that the U.S. could be engaged in a war where the people supported the soldiers, but not the war. Yeah! What I know to be true, we have the greatest respect for the soldiers and for the military families who support them. The best way we can support our soldiers is to bring them home. Yeah!
Money for jobs and education! Not for war and occupation!
I'm back now with Yvonne, and she's been with our group since we started. And I helped Yvonne edit together a show that she taped with a friend of hers here, and it was about Gaza. And you want to talk a little bit more about that, Yvonne?
Yeah, Regina Bircham, who was the international president of Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, this year went to Gaza after the Israeli invasion. And tell us what you did about that.
I videotaped Regina talking to the people in the church that we were at downtown, and I learned that Israel abused the women of Gaza and that it just wasn't fair there.
Yeah, there was a lot of destruction.
So before the bombing, it was known that there was a shortage of food, water, electricity, and sanitation and money in Gaza. So after this bombing, it was much worse. So, and as I say here, the highest need is the psychological need of the people. In the center here is Dr. Zeldin Abouleish. You may know his story. While he was on the phone giving an interview during the war, I won't call it a war, during the war on Gaza, a bomb hit his home. While he was on the phone, killed 3 of his daughters and a niece, and injured another daughter. He's meeting there with Anne Wright on his right, and Helen Schiff from New York on the left, 2 members of our delegation. He's an amazing man. He lost his wife in September to cancer, and then he lost his 3 daughters. He was invited to Pittsburgh to speak because a friend of his is a physician in Pittsburgh at one of the medical schools. It was held at the Jewish Community Center. So many people came that they brought in chairs and filled all the aisles and everywhere, and the rest of the people couldn't get in the room. That's how many people came to hear him, which to me is a real sign of concern of the Jewish community. He spoke very frankly about what happened, and he wants to work for reconciliation. He will not deny all the difficulty his life has seen through the years, because he's from the Jabalia refugee camp. And that's where he still lives. He goes to Jerusalem, I'm not sure which city. He goes into Israel to work in a hospital 2 days a week. So he's highly regarded by both the Israelis and the Palestinian physicians. This is the bedroom where his floor of where his daughters were killed. So we toured at some of the areas of devastation in this little van. And this is what we saw. The black object there is a water tank.
Hi, I'm Barb Greene, and I helped Yvonne with this next program. I helped edit this one. So you got this footage when you were in Peru, right?
Yeah, on my last trip, when I go to help the child workers, and also the kids, I work with the kids in the earthquake zone where there was an earthquake. But this time there was an OPEC meeting of the Americas, and there were so many presidents there, and of course there was President Bush, and there was a great rally, about 2,000 people, mostly workers, and so I went and I videoed, and it was so passionate. They had the Guantanamo Bay people, and most of it is in Spanish, but they say "Fuera Bush," which obviously is "Go home, Bush," and it was very. I really enjoyed videoing it.
Go home, Bush. You should be in the International World Court for crimes against humanity and crimes of war and aggression. And here is Emmanuel Castillo. He organized the rally, and he's welcoming the people that are there.
El día de hoy se encuentran concentrados aquí y vienen diferentes delegaciones a manifestar su repudio a la presencia del genocida Bush, porque definitivamente nuestro país no se puede ver ensombrecido con la presencia del principal criminal de la historia del siglo XXI. En ese sentido, estamos justamente hoy desarrollando esta actividad donde ya se han iniciado las comisiones, el Tribunal Antiimperialista, que en estos momentos están haciendo la disertación, haciendo las denuncias de todas las violaciones que ha cometido el imperialismo norteamericano, y justamente el presidente George Bush.
Porque una bandera roja, con sangre de 5 siglos, porque una bandera roja y a mi modo lo toreé. El toro bravo se fue.
Barb, I'm back. You're back.
This one is about the conflict in the Congo.
Democratic Republic of Congo.
Right,
Mhm.
which used to be known as the Belgian Congo, Zaire, was colonized for a really long time and has had a conflict that's been designated the worst since World War II, where like 6 million people have died. Rape is a weapon of choice. It's a horrendous situation and hardly anybody knows what's going on over there. And part of what's going on is that resources that are needed for our computers and cell phones are coming from the Congo and fueling that conflict.
So it's mined from the ground and they use those monies for continuing the war.
Exactly.
In December 2008, just last 3 months ago, the UN again published a report that affirmed what Congolese have been talking about every day, that we are suffering because people want what we have and they can't get it from anywhere else. So the Ugandan and the Rwandan invasion of 1996 and 1998 have triggered the death of nearly 6 million Congolese. The United Nations says it is the deadliest conflict in the world since World War II. Here, exploitation of resources again. The United Nations report is a predictable outgrowth of previous reports produced by the UN since 2001. It reflects the continued appropriation of the land, theft of Congo's resources, and continuous human rights abuses caused by Rwanda and Uganda. So there was some recommendation what they said, which is I was maybe wondering. They said we should be asking ourselves, if you are using a laptop, you're using a cell phone, you should ask yourself, where does this material come from?
I have gold, diamond, cotton, oil, and here to let these people know that everybody who carries cell phone or video game or any kind of electronic device is carrying a piece of Congo with him or with her, because the cotton that they make cell phone with comes from Congo.
So Barb, we're going to talk about who now?
This next clip is of Jean Bauer, who's one of the co-founders of Farm Sanctuary, and animal welfare rights organization that works for the rights of farm animals. And one of the things that he's done a lot of is videotaping in stockyards. And there's some pretty horrendous footage in this program. You'll see some of it here. This was so bad that I stopped eating eggs after editing this program. So.
This is a wonderful book by Colin Campbell, who is a nutritional biochemist at Cornell University. He conducted the largest study ever done to compare nutrition and human health. And he found that the more plant foods people ate, the healthier they were. The more animal foods they ate, the sicker they were. Last year, the UN put out a report called Livestock's Long Shadow. Here are some of the conclusions. The livestock sector emerges as one of the top 2 or 3 most significant contributors to the most serious environmental problems at every scale, from local to global. Livestock sector is a major player responsible for 18% of greenhouse gas emissions, measured as CO2 equivalent. This is a higher share than transportation. So the meat industry produces more greenhouse gases than all cars, trains, planes, ships, the entire transportation sector. And that's a picture of a dumpster that I took behind a hatchery that hatched out egg-laying hens. These are the unwanted male chicks. Here's another picture at another hatchery where the unwanted male chicks are being put into a manure spreader to be spread as manure, literally. And I went to this facility a couple of times, and I went there one day, and they described how they disposed of the unwanted males. They said, we have these trash cans, and we take the males and we put them in there, and there's like a layer, and then we put this gas in, and the gas is heavier than air, so it settles down, and the birds die painlessly, is what they said. And then after that, they put the next layer of chicks on there and more gas, and it just continues all the way to the top of the barrel. Then you had a barrel of humanely killed chicks, was the story. I went back the following day, and I saw trash cans full of live chicks, and I saw an auger, which is like a big screw that, as it turns, is often used to move material like sand or grain. But in this case, it was being used to move unwanted male chicks. And they were being dismembered along the process. Some were being killed. Some were surviving this movement. And they were then being dumped into this manure spreader to be spread as manure on the field. And there were live chicks in here. You could hear them chirping out of the manure spreader.
This next clip is of Jeremy Scahill, a journalist and author who wrote a book called Blackwater, The Rise of the World's Most Powerful Mercenary Army. This guy has a ton of energy and has done a lot of work to find out about this organization and others like it, which are really scary. They've been doing some awful things over in Iraq and in South America and even in the United States. He's a really dynamic speaker, and let's take a look.
But let's be clear on one thing here. The Republicans could run a head of lettuce for president, and the head of lettuce would be the candidate of Blackwater and all of these other war companies. They would be talking about how head of lettuce is going to protect us, head of lettuce is a patriot, head of lettuce is, honorably serving the country, and at the same time greening America. And so, but we have a candidate slightly more enthusiastic than the head of lettuce on the Republican side, and then we have Barack Obama, and for the first time in 15 years, the war industry has been giving more money in political campaign donations to the Democrats than to the Republicans. And that's because it's a wise business investment. The war business has always been bipartisan. Anyone who has any illusions about the Democrats being an anti-war party just needs to look at the 8 years of the Clinton administration with some of the most belligerent policies in recent U.S. history, not just on Iraq, but in the Balkans, Latin America, Central America, Haiti, elsewhere. So the Democrats have long been on board with the war agenda. First of all, you don't have to engage in any kind of international diplomacy anymore. You don't have to have a coalition of willing nations. You can just build a coalition of billing corporations. You can have 630 companies on the U.S. government payroll in Iraq with 180,000 personnel drawn from 100 countries around the world. Many of the people working for these companies as occupation forces in Iraq come from countries whose home governments are actually opposed to the war. And this system also keeps a draft off the table, which would make this thing politically untenable pretty darn fast, because people would get off of the YouTubes and the blogs and into the streets because it would be their potential necks on the line. And I'm totally against a draft. But I understand why Charlie Rangel of Harlem wants to implement a draft because he wants a democratization of who's getting killed. You know, the Bush twins run around writing children's books and going to galas and having their wedding, you know, in Us Weekly and all that stuff, while poor Latino and African American and white folks are being sent over as cannon fodder for this war. And so it's the political expedience there, and on top of it, there's no laws that are being applied to these individuals. Their deaths and injuries don't get counted. It is essentially a shadow army that is operating in a covert manner. There's no accountability, and you're pouring money into the coffers of politically connected companies. It's been the greatest transfer of public funds to the private sector, I think, in the history of our country. We spend $2.3 to $2.8 billion every week occupying Iraq. 40 cents of every dollar that goes to the occupation of Iraq goes directly to the war corporations.
Hi, I'm PC Peri. Been with Flying Focus since they started in 1991. And I've taped 5 out of the 12 shows you've seen. Now we'll see a clip that I did with Tianli Ma from China. He was a student, more of a teacher, who helped us in the past year.
So PC, you've been taping this Buddhist monk?
Right.
What does he have to do with the video bus?
That's a good question. We're covering issues of peace and social justice, and this clip, this talk, was about inner peace, how to find through meditation and the Buddhist ways of path of enlightenment, how to find inner peace and control your mind.
What is the problem of the mind? If you try to find out what is the problem. Anger? No, not real. Or the real is no peace, yeah, in the mind. Consistently no peace in the mind is the real problem of the mind. If you have remedy, then what is the result of, if you could rid away that? The result is, of course, then peace. Yeah? Peaceful. That peaceful is not just peaceful, that, oh, there's no noise. Yeah? That's peaceful. That's not the mark. Yeah? No peace, then no noise. The peace that you don't have noise is just very surface. Because this just depends on what you listen. Yeah? Here, the tranquility, the peace is very deep as your mind. Yeah? Your mind is very profound because the mind is that one that you can think of everything. If you search how capacity of the mind is very, very profound. Yeah? Our capacity of the mind is very profound. You can think of everything. You can think of everything that you cannot explain by words. Yeah? Profound. All right. All these are, you can say, agitation is confusing. But you can think of that. All kinds of problems you can think. As you have problems, that everything what you think of are additional confusions and problems, but you can think. Yeah? You can go extensive. So the profoundness of mind is very, very vast, very big. So counter to it, if it became peaceful, then boundless peace, yeah, unobstructed peace, limitless peace.
Well, that wraps it up for our 18th Busiversary. I'm Jeff Bugbee.
And I'm PC Peri from Flying Focus Video Collective. Hope you got information and a little entertainment from watching the clips and meeting our members and producers. Got information?
If you want to get involved and support Flying Focus Video Collective, call us at 503-239-7456 or check our show times at 503-321-5456. 5051, or you can write us at ffvc@flyingfocus.org.
Thanks for watching, and tune in your set or your digital video recorder to this slot next week. See you on the video bus.